everybody. So good to see you here. I'm Maneli Jamal, all the way from Toronto, Canada. And I know that we're all doing the social distancing thing right now, so it's best that we're all staying in the luxury of our own home. And I want to share some things with you about this very special Cole Clark guitar that I'm playing here today. It's a really special guitar for me because, well, this is actually my signature model guitar. But outside of that, actually, this guitar has a really great pickup system, which you just heard right now with this little intro. Just a little bit of an improvisation I did for you guys, just to warm up a little bit. And I want to talk a little bit about some of the techniques that I like to use with the guitar, as well as the actual pickup system, because I'll get a lot of questions about kind of how the system works and why it works so well for my style of playing. Now, I don't just do the whole kind of soloing thing. I do some percussive guitar as well, which I'll show you a little bit later on in this little workshop. But just to kind of get you started with kind of my setup that I have right now, and this is basically my live setup. Whenever I'm playing live, basically what you're hearing is very similar to what is being replicated in a live stage. So first of all, I'm using Elixir strings, 13 to 53s, which I believe are called the HD lights. Really great for my style of music. And a Cole Clark, of course, is basically like an Angel, a Cole Clark Angel 2, I believe. And the wood combination that I have here is Tasmanian Blackwood back and sides. I have a Bunya top, and it's really cool because the pickup system actually has 3 different pickup systems inside of it. And so what you're hearing whenever I'm playing anything, if I'm doing this or if I'm doing this, you can probably hear, you know, every single bit of this wooden box. And this is really great if you're kind of utilizing the full instrument to its fullest potential. And by that, of course, I mean just kind of exploring some of the wood percussive hits and some of the other sort of extended guitar techniques that a lot of guitar players lately are liking to do. So the pickup system. The first pickup system I want to talk about is basically the piezo, the under saddle pickup here. And with this, it's great because this really gets a lot of the bass sort of tones that are coming out of the guitar, but it is very special in that sense that we actually have each of the individual pickups have a little bit of a roll-off on specific frequencies, so they really synergize together to create this full and rich sound without the cause or the issue of potentially having any feedback. Because that's a big issue, as many of you guitar players know, when you're on stage and you're kind of cranking the volume, or the sound man is cranking the volume, the last thing you want is, of course, the feedback. That's oftentimes what happens with a hollow body like this. And so the piezo is the first pickup that is very special in this case, that it kind of blends in with the transducer. The transducer, I think, is right around over here. You can probably hear that if you're wearing headphones. It's very nice because you can even do some brush techniques, right? Of course, we have last but not least, and my favorite of the pickups actually is the microphone. I like to blend all 3 of them together, and you should see a picture there on the screen that has my setup as far as kind of how I like to kind of balance each individual pickup. Most venues that I go to when I'm using this guitar system, if I'm ever with any of my peers, you know, other fingerstyle players, I noticed that my sound check is very short for that reason, and I love that. I just love to get in, know what to expect, and then that's it. I'm ready to go, right? Without having to tweak certain things. I know that there's a lot of pickup systems where you actually have to kind of tweak the sound quite a bit, you know, to get that desired sound that you're looking for. And of course, you know, every room is going to be different, so that's something to consider as well. But typically I like to have this kind of setup here. And of course it does have an EQ built in. And with this though, I just have everything at the flat except for the mid. The mid is all the way down. I find that for my playing, you know, I don't want too much of the mid range because I want there to be more of a separation between the high end and then the low end. And so this allows me to get that quite nicely. So anyway, enough talk about this guitar. I want to show you another song of mine that I'm going to play here. And this piece here is conveniently called Home. You know, a lot of you are probably watching this at the luxury of your own home right now. So this is dedicated to all of you. So with this piece, Home, I'm using a double drop D tuning as well, which is, you know, 1st string and 6th string down to a low D. Really nice. I have a lot of songs in this tuning. And yeah, so let's see how this guitar sounds. And I'm also going to use a little bit of effects with my pedals. And the pedals that I'm using here are just some Strymon reverb and a delay. All right, that was called Home. And as you can see, that was a very ambient, sort of inspired piece, using my effects here with the Strymon reverb and the Strymon delay. Really nice pedals to use, especially it has the ability to kind of elongate certain notes. So if I'm ever choosing to play maybe these 3 octaves here, these harmonics, as I kind of put the pedal down on this, as I play it, it actually sustains the notes, so it allows me to play some lead sections, which is such a nice effect when you're playing solo, because we're trying to, a solo player is trying often to just get as much out of the instrument as possible, and so allowing to do this, it really has the sense that there's this backing track behind you. Very nice stuff to use this to your advantage. I use this quite a bit, especially if I'm doing if I were to play this live, the intro would typically be elongated a little bit longer, simply for the fact that I can just be free a little bit for that first couple minutes to just do whatever I need to do. And certain things that I like to do a lot is these sort of Persian ornaments. Now I'm Persian by blood, but I grew up in the Western world, and so I try to bring a lot of these Middle Eastern influences into some of my playing. What's a very common thing in Persian music is to do these little hammer-ons, these really quick hammer-on pull-offs. And in Persian, I think we call it as it's sort of a cry, and it really does try to emulate the essence of like what a cry is. Really beautiful stuff that you can do with the combination of the guitar with the pedals and things like this. And one of the other things that I really like to use is this guy, which is an EBow, which is what I use in the very beginning. And this basically creates a sort of magnetic field around the string. Again, something about this pickup system that just lends itself so nicely to this sound. I mean, tell me that's not a nice sounding synth-like. Right? It's almost like church or something, like you're in a church and you've got this huge sort of decay, right? And when you combine the two together, say I were to do this with the actual sustain on the pedal that I'm using, let's see what that sounds like. So now I've got the sustain, my foot is on the pedal to sustain the reverb, and now I can do this to really explore a little bit more, right? If you're going for this sort of ambient sound, that is. It's just such a good combination that I love to use, and I get asked all the time at shows and workshops, and this combination of these elements together. And all these things that I'm using right now, just so you know, these are tools, right? These are basically tools out of what I call a technique bucket, which is basically where you can take certain techniques out of different genres and try to fuse them together to create this, really sort of kind of modern, sort of progressive sound, which is what I'm all about. I like to really explore the instrument, not only harmonically, of course, with the harmony of music, but also with textures, right? Textures, full immersion. That's kind of what I'm all about here. All right, so hopefully you guys have been enjoying this little workshop here so far. Told you a little bit about the guitar, told you about the strings that I'm using, told you about the effects that I'm using, and of course the EBow. And here I'm just using a thumb pick for any players who are interested in getting into this. This is really great because it really allows you to get a little bit more clarity with the bass notes. So if I was, to do this sort of groove bass, it allows me to kind of have this more clear bass. These sorts of elements are really great to use with this thumb pick. And again, just another tool in my little toolkit that I like to just take, and whenever I need to explore that, I can do that with this thumb pick here. But I want to show you the potential of this instrument here as well by just showcasing a little bit of the percussive side as well. Oh, and by the way, if you have any suggestions for the song that I'm about to play, please let me know. I'd love to hear from you because I don't have a name yet. So I'm still kind of searching for that powerful name. You might have something. Anyway, listen to it and let me know what you think. So that was a very percussive piece just to show you that everything does still come out quite clearly with this sort of sound because the whole body is alive. Now I always get asked about this, like, well, if the guitar is this alive and you make a mistake, that will be amplified. But in a sense, this actually makes you a much better player and a much cleaner player as well. And the reason I say that is because, well, if you're able to hear all the mistakes and it's being amplified, and I've got a PA system that you can't see that's just right here to the left of me. And with this, when I play live and play like when I'm practicing to play live, it's always so important to listen to see what the instrument sounds like through a system that it's going to replicate more or less what a theater would sound like, or maybe, a hall or a church or whatever the case might be where you're playing. And so when you can hear that, you can hear the mistakes and you can fix them. This actually makes you a much better player, right? I know a lot of my students, I teach a bit of guitar as well on the side, and so I know that a lot of my students who are playing this style, oftentimes if they play too quiet, we're not able to hear the mistakes. And the thing is, we want to play loud and with confidence to be able to hear the mistakes clearly, so that later on, that when we're listening back without playing, we can have a very critical ear and make sure that every single note is right where it needs to be, right? This is a very important thing for the development, I think, of any guitar player. And it's one of those things that you never outgrow it. Certainly for me, I still constantly am looking for mistakes whenever I'm playing. It's a grounding, it's a humbling experience to know that you always have more room to grow, right? That's no such thing as kind of you've learned everything, right? There's always something else to learn. And that's kind of the philosophy and the mentality I have. And it's so great because this instrument allows me to do that very effectively with my style of music, kind of showcasing many different styles. In the very beginning, I did a loop pedal, little jam improv, and then I did a more of a ballad piece, and then this is more of a percussive song. And so I just wanted to show you here in this workshop the full potential of this instrument, and that every single style that I've played so far lends itself quite nicely to this. All right, so before I tune off here, I want to thank you so much for checking this workshop out, and hopefully you got some more information about the Cole Clark guitars that I like to use with the effects that I'm using, all the different tools to kind of more fully express ourselves with. And wherever you might be right now in the world, I hope you're doing okay, and that hopefully you're inspired to pick up the guitar and to feel that that this can bring a sense of peace at a time of chaos right now. Music definitely has been a therapist for me, as I'm sure many musicians who are watching right now can relate to this. And it's such an important part that we cultivate this into our everyday lives, so that when chaos does happen, we're more at peace with it, and we're more at just being able to express it through our instrument.